All right, thank you. Alongside Darren Dreger and Mike Johnson. Gentlemen, Marc Bergevin is not only one of the best, or at least most colorfully dressed general managers in the league, he's one of the best GMs, period. That according to his peers and a select group of voters. Darren, how did he earn one of the 3 nominations for NHL GM of the Year?
Well, he put it all on the line, and I suppose as general manager in the National Hockey League, that's what you're hired to do. But the Montreal Canadiens had cap space. Marc Bergevin decided that he would use the cap space in the offseason, and he made his team better. And no one is enjoying the moment more so as they progress through the playoffs than the general manager of the Montreal Canadiens. We're talking about 9 adds to the lineup. Tyler Toffoli, the most consistent. He's the most all-round player. He delivers with big goals. Josh Anderson scored in Game 1 against the Toronto Maple Leafs. He needs to dial it in, but he's been good. And then you've got Jake Allen, who provides full insurance and stability behind Carey Price, even though Carey Price has been magical in goal for the Habs. So you look at the bigger picture and everything that Marc Bergevin has his fingerprints on, and here is the graphic list. And we should mention Corey Perry, Cole Caulfield, even the defensive depth that they now have in Gustafsson and John Merrill and Joel Edmondson. That's a lot of work in a short period of time, and I know he's got full support among his peer group in the NHL general manager category.
I think there's a lot of people that are just in disbelief. Not a lot. I think a ton of people. If you look
importantly,
at it,
people that are Habs fans, like what I have noticed, and this is Twitter, and I understand it, and people are getting fired up. I have buddies who are Habs fans. 3 weeks ago, a month ago, they hated this team, despised them, thought they were awful, hated Bergevin, thought Ducharme was a plug, thought everyone had to go.
Though.
Of course it is, but now it's like, then they're calling me. They're like, "Why aren't you showing them love?" I'm like, "Who cares? What are you calling me out for? You hated them more than anyone on earth a month and a half ago. So don't pretend like because you're a Habs fan, you always believed. No, you didn't. You thought they were terrible. Like you did. You thought they were terrible. There isn't a Montreal Canadian fan on earth that thought this team was getting to a cup final.
I thought about this last night. We've had several Montreal media members and analysts on our show and stuff like that. And, one of them was like, yeah, Bergevin hasn't drafted well. And I kept thinking to myself, like, I think he's done a pretty good job. Like, Jake Evans is in the lineup, 7th rounder. Like, this Caulfield, they got him at 15. Like, Romanov, like, he had some good trades. I was going through some of his trades.
Trades have been great. Trades have been great.
I think the only trade that you can point to in recent history would be the Drouin for Sergachev. And now Drouin's not even part of the, he's part of the team, but he's got something going on. I don't even know how to term it. He's
taken an absence and he's
not available.
Playing.
So you hope that he's all right. But Weber for Subban. Subban's a year away from unrestricted free agency. Nobody's talking about, need to have him. Pacioretty for Suzuki and Tadar. Like, Pacioretty's a good player, don't get me wrong. But would you take a 21-year-old centerman that looks like projects he's going to be your number one?
As
Absolutely.
of today, Vegas would flip that deal back if they could, considering what they know. They're out, and Pacioretty's, where he is in his career, they'd flip that deal in a heartbeat.
Right.
Anderson for Domi, good deal.
Yeah, basically, they turned Galchenyuk into Josh Anderson.
Right.
Really. And when you look at it, Galchenyuk into Anderson. He got Joel Edmondson for a 5th rounder. He got Ben Sherratt as an unrestricted free agent at $3.5 million. Like, I was thinking to myself,
his trades have always been very good. Like,
who is the comparables for Edmondson and Sherratt on the Leafs? Is that Muzzin?
No, it's Chris Pronger. Don't you know that? There are 4 Chris Prongers back there.
No,
yeah,
besides,
it would be probably Muzzin. And
Muzzin makes 5.75.
Yeah, that's
like
right.
That, and Sherratt makes 3.5.
Well, and I was watching. We've all been watching Sherratt. What you notice with him is he's better with the puck than you think he is, based on his reputation, right? Like this is what we're talking about with Scott Mayfield. Yes, he's a stay-at-home defenseman. He'll play tough. He'll try to make your life as miserable as possible. But he's pretty good with the puck. Like, that doesn't mean he's dangling at the blue line. He's not.
He can sneak in and score a big goal once in a while, like he showed the other night.
Right, and he gets the red line. Like, he skates with. He controls the puck pretty well. Like for a guy of his stature. So. That's the little minor details that probably don't get enough attention.
Well, I mean, even a guy like Joel Armia, who will be an unrestricted free agent, I don't know if you remember how they got Armia. He was a throw-in to buy out Steve Mason. They got Steve Mason to buy him out. So they basically bought Armia, and Armia was a throw-in, and Armia's been a really good player. They got Byron on waivers.
Yep.
You know, like there's been some pretty good moves there that I guess you can give credit for where, you know, now, because they're in the finals. You wouldn't give credit if they lost in 5. Technically.
You know, he's like any other GM. He's had some blemishes too. I don't know if he's drafted that well. I don't know. I don't know what they've done over the course of his tenure in the draft. But trading, I think he's always done well. And, you know, he's been searching for a number 1 center for a while, but clearly that doesn't really matter right now. Maybe he's got it with Suzuki. You know, maybe he finally found it. He probably does.
He has experienced every level of emotion from the fan base. To, like, you've got to get rid of him, to he's the best, to isn't he awesome, to
best
he's
trade,
so funny.
Worst trade.
Yeah, horrible. Don't give him the opportunity to, you know, fix his mistakes. All this kind of stuff. Like, it's just an absolute range of emotions, even this year as well. Like, I think somebody on Twitter was screen grabbing. I think they... Which this is why it's like, it's so stupid. But this is why it's so difficult, because what media members in Montreal were saying about Bergevin 3 months ago was right at that time. But anyway, somebody's going, they're taking the screen grabs of like, this is what everyone had to say about him. Now they're all loving him. Well,
they're all handing him a pen to sign a new contract.
But again, that's just the world of sport. Anywho, it is sometimes funny to see those juxtaposed, you know, next to one another. But I wonder if he's also a good example of patience, something we don't see a lot of in professional sports, because it's like, oh, we're gonna stand by you, but you still got to get the job done yesterday, right? Like, I remember when Brian Burke came on board, it's a 5-year plan, right?
And he got a little over half of that.
But it's like everyone's like, what? But
Andy,
that's a luxury.
When I took the job here in Toronto, and I did a lot of before games, a lot of corporate speaking. And to a lot of, you know, high-level executives at small groups. And when they would ask me what the biggest challenge was, I would say time. Time. You know, and you'd talk to a corporation like Coca-Cola, who'd been around forever, and they would understand that concept of time. And it's a real challenge because the sport is about today. But these are great, great questions. We should have another person sitting in on this, and that's our guest at 105 today. These are great questions for Daniel Sedin.
Oh, I know.
Great questions.
Very excited to have him join us.
Because he's been a part of great teams, and he's been a part of enormous struggles. And now he's going to sit in a chair. Do you think they'll know for sure? Like, I've got identical twins, so I'm allowed to speak like... like,
who's who?
Even being a father of identical twins, there were moments when you were yelling at one of them and saying, am I yelling at the right one?
They need to wear name tags. You need to wear name tags at all times.
I swear. So you're just looking at Daniel and Henrik, and I wonder how similar or different they will be from each other in management roles.
Oh, I think they're going to be the same.
See, I don't.
Really? Oh, I don't know. Anyways, it'll be...
Don't forget, Daniel was a little more of the goal scorer, correct? Mm-hmm. So I don't.
Okay. Well,
I can't wait for our 105 interview, Andy.
I know. We're going to talk to him. But Marc Bergevin, so he was appointed general manager of the Montreal Canadiens May of 2012, right? So we're going on a decade here of someone who experienced some highs, not as high as this, obviously. First time they're in the Stanley Cup Finals since 1993, but a lot of lows. And yet, Jeff Molson stuck with him just when we thought it was over. I remember when we've had one Montreal media member after another on this show in the last few years. And almost every single one had said, I don't know if he's the guy that you take into the draft. I don't know if he's the guy that should be responsible now for trying to put the pieces together after he was the one that, you know, put the pieces apart type of thing. It was always like, I don't know. And then, you know, suddenly he does something where you have a little bit of faith. And of course the owner comes out, puts the faith in him, and it's just this. But he's, to me, I look at it and I go, and you know he's going to get re-signed. So I'm going to say a decade, right?
Yeah, and his vice president, for those out there that missed this, 2 days ago, John Sedgwick signed a 3-year extension.
Yeah. So a
Senior
decade.
Vice President.
And this isn't a team that has had success. Like, that's my point. You could be like, oh, there's other GMs who have been. No. Yeah, because they've been perennial contenders. The Montreal Canadiens have not been. Yet he's the example of time and of patience.
Marc Bergevin got emotional when he spoke about you after you signed your contract extension last October. Can you maybe speak just a little bit about how your relationship with him has developed over the years, and maybe what makes this team he's put together this season so special?
Well, the one thing about Berge, if he really believes in something, nothing's going to stand in his way of doing it. And, he had a vision of what our team could look like. He's, obviously put in a ton of work in the off season to build this group. Had some ups and downs, but I think it's, you can see what he saw. And he's getting a lot of credit because he deserves that. He worked incredibly hard. He's always had a tremendous amount of passion for our group. He believes in character. He believes in hard work. And I think that's everything that our team embodies is kind of what he believes in. So I feel like, he takes a lot of heat, obviously living in a market like this, but he doesn't really care. He just kind of goes out and makes the decisions that he thinks is going to be best for a hockey club. And as a player, that's what you want.